All right, DP. Here we went through some of the topics. You got debt, you got immigration, you got economy, you got Supreme Court, you got foreign hotspots, fitness to be president. Is there anything there missing that you wish was in there?
I do feel like that's pretty comprehensive and it basically covers a lot. There's can I mention 3 things?
No.
Okay, I will. I think that for millennials out there and their parents, and also millennials who are now becoming parents, this issue of the cost of college, and the question that the Democrats really had during their primary season about whether there should be free college or options or things. I think that is worth talking about because I think it's on a lot of people's minds, a lot of citizens' minds.
That's one.
That's one. Second one is how either one of them, as the president, would help set up the country to deal with what's the coming technological revolution that is going to change the workforce in America dramatically. This is really important for the next 3 years. And then the other thing is, I would ask this question: what as president would keep them up at night? And which I think helps get to understanding what are their worries.
Trump
doesn't have that problem.
There you go.
Yeah,
right there.
Cialis.
Thinking you forgot to tweet something. Oh. Ooh.
What? Oh my goodness! My poor ears! Yes. You're about to elect a president who said far worse than that. Eric, I want to know.
Are they going to talk about The Fly or Ken Bone? You kidding? I think okay. So on the economy, I see the debt and the entitlements, but on the economy, so. Over the last 8 years, President Obama, he can absolutely say that under his presidency, stock prices have gone up. But mainstream America hasn't felt that. That's Wall Street. That's done very well for Wall Street in the upper 1 or 5% of the people in America. How do you help mainstream America? And that means wages. Wages have been stagnant for 7 or 8 years. They haven't gone up. They blipped up for the first time in 7 years this quarter. And what do you do to help that? Prices are going up, but America gets squeezed because prices haven't stopped going up, but their wages have been stagnant. So how are you going to turn that around and give us your plan, both candidates? Also on security. Homegrown terror, guys. Yeah, hotspots, I agree. Syria, what are you going to do if Russia gets more involved or if the UK shoots down a Russian plane? I get that. But what are you going to do about homegrown terror? And I'd specifically go to this whole NSA argument that's been heated. It's been heated over the last few years. Where are you on that? Is data mining okay? And I kind of would like to hear their answer.
Actually, they might agree on that.
Maybe.
What do you think, Juan? What's missing from that list? What would you add?
Well, I think that social issues are missing. So if you were to talk about some of the big wedge issues, and this is a Fox debate, but if you were to talk about, let's say, abortion, if you were to talk about gay rights and gay marriage, and you may get some of that, Greg, on the Supreme Court front.
Right.
But the question is, and I think this is a big split within the party, how much do you emphasize those social issues going forward? The problem, of course, is Donald Trump is not really a conservative. He's not really like a traditional Republican candidate. But nonetheless, I'd be interested. I think America would be interested in really going over that territory. But I'm struck by the idea that debt and entitlements, where we get started. And I think that for Trump and Clinton, they do have such different ideas about tax policy. I think it's the one area where we have seen a clear divide. And finally, I would say, you know what? Remember the wisdom that debates don't matter that so much? They have mattered in this election cycle.
Yeah, definitely. Especially if they do touch on man buns, Kimberly. I think we both share.
She doesn't touch man buns.
No, you wouldn't go.
I have an aversion.
You've never dated a man with a man bun?
Absolutely not.
Thank God.
I'm not confused that way.
Yes.
Okay, so here's what I think.
Yeah.
Debt and entitlements, I want to hear about that because I think they can really make some strong arguments. If you're for Hillary Clinton, you're going to like what she has to say. She wants to spend more money that we don't have. Trump says he wants to throttle it back. So you can make a case and distinguish yourself there on that opportunity. Foreign hotspots a little further down on the list. I think very important. I know it sounds like vacation, like go to Sandals. Foreign hotspots. So yeah, let's talk about national security, foreign policy. Let's talk about what's going on right now with Russia. What decisions would they make? What we're seeing happening in Yemen. I think that's a strong area because they have some differences there, although there are many that say that they believe Hillary Clinton will be be much more, hawkish, that's her truest self once she were to get in to be president, despite pressures from the left. So I'm fascinated to see how they distinguish themselves. Here's, I think, the lead, though, if you're Trump, to try to get the chatter away from everything else that he's calling, distractions in the campaign. Talk about the Supreme Court, because that's the one thing that he actually is attractive to the conservatives, because they would rather have him stick to the list that he proffered rather than go with Hillary Clinton and who she might put in. And, we were talking earlier, we thought, perhaps that one of the first moves she might make.
Dana?
Another one.
Well, yes. I was going to ask you another question of whether the debate will actually stick to these issues, but I'll go ahead.
It probably will not stick to these issues. That's true. Partly because there's so much news that is happening even between our show and Megyn Kelly's show last night. That was 4 hours. There were 3 news stories that broke in between those 4 hours. So much is happening. So this is only Thursday. This debate is 6 days away. I think a lot could happen. So who knows at this point next week what they'll maybe. Chris Wallace will stick to the issues, but he'll also cover whatever sort of breaking news there is. I also feel like on early education, we've not heard enough from either one of them on that. And school choice is an issue where Donald Trump certainly stands apart from Hillary Clinton. And I think the nation's ready to hear a little bit more about that. So that might be something that, even if Chris Wallace doesn't bring it up, if I were Donald Trump, I would try to.
Work it in.
You know what would be fun, too, though?
What?
Trade. Both of them have moved their position in trade a couple of times.
Right.
Have them go back and forth. Let them iron out exactly where they are.
I'm not even
trade.
sure where she is.
Well, she's been both. She's been a free trader, and she's been a NAFTA advocate, and then she's back to free trade. Now we found out in the emails she's been NAFTA straight through and other trade agreements straight through. But Donald Trump has also had some fairly difficult to defend positions on trade. If you're a true free trader, you don't want to tax cars that come in, goods that come in, because that's not true free trade. That's a punitive trade. So I think it'd be very interesting.
Well, he's not a free trader.
Well, he's against trade agreements.
Oh, that's what he says now. But what's the big news here on this front, by the way?
Wait, is Hillary? Can we just be honest? Neither one of them have been consistent.
Yeah, I didn't say that. In fact, she's flip-flopped on the TPP, where it's the gold standard. But what I was saying to you was I think that the big news here is that in Ohio, the Clinton people are pushing the idea that Trump bought steel from China, at the same time that steel mills are closing. And I think for a lot of people, the blue-collar union-type people who thought, here's Trump standing up for the guy who's been losing jobs to global trade. Here's Trump, in fact, revealed as someone who's been taking advantage.
But you could argue that he saw a good deal. It was a steal on steel.
Oh, that's very nice. A lot of, you do realize that a lot of the Trump buildings, he doesn't actually build himself. Yeah. There are builders that build, and those are going to be the people who are buying the steel from elsewhere. And he'll brand the building, and he'll sell the brand to the builder to put the Trump there, or a golf course and whatnot. So he may not want to highlight that, but certainly he's not. I would say that he's not the guy going out there cutting deals with Japanese steel makers.
I think
to
he
build
was,
the girders.
But I understand your point. I think he'd made that deal.
Maybe he was.
That's why they're picking on him about it. But the fact is, I think everybody's looking forward to this debate. I've heard some people speculate as to whether or not there will be a debate. You know anybody like that, Gregory?
Well, I was looking around on Twitter and I saw I think even Jennifer Rubin, Washington Post, said like she said she was betting that he wasn't going to show. There were some other people on.
I heard it in the makeup room.
Yes.
Take it to the bank.
Some little loudmouth punk in there.
No, you're not the only one. I think Cobra King said, why allow Trump the opportunity? Why is Clinton
he's saying that Clinton shouldn't show up?
No, that Clinton doesn't need to have another debate. She's doing fine.
I think it's going to happen, and I think it's going to be. What's it going to be?
Chris
Wallace it's going to be a mess.
His day.
Well, Chris Wallace will control it, but it'll get crazy, won't it? It'll be wild.
Yep.
And it's in Vegas.
It's going to be great.
Yeah, it's in Vegas.
This is going to be the best debate. I have absolutely no doubt about it.
I think it's going to be not only the greatest debate ever, but the greatest debate that will ever be.
I like
so not just the past, but it will all. It'll
everything after this.
Everything after this. Yeah, everything after this.
You sound like Rudy Giuliani.
And it's because of Chris Wallace and Fox.
Yeah,
well,
and it will only be on Fox.
It will only be on Fox.
If you've been on his show and been questioned by him, then you know.
Oh, yes.
That's right.
He ain't
asking very personal things.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we should move on. We've had
that's a wrap.
All right. Today, Trump addressed allegations from multiple women of past sexual misconduct. He called them all lies, drummed up by the media and the Clintons. That's next.
Donald Trump is furious. He is fighting back at new allegations from several women that he groped or forcibly kissed them. He calls them outright lies coordinated by the media and the Clintons.
Now we address the slander and libels that was just last night thrown at me by the Clinton machine and the New York Times and other media outlets as part of a concerted, coordinated, and vicious attack. These vicious claims about me of inappropriate conduct with women are totally and absolutely false. These events never, ever happened.
All right, so flat-out denial by Donald Trump and also a lawsuit aimed at the New York Times. They are not retracting the stories that they published. Okay, Dana, this broke last night, and now the fallout has been people, coming forward. How do you see this affecting the campaign?
Well, in the first, in the first debate, when Hillary Clinton dropped in there towards the end of the debate, she mentioned Alicia Machado, who was the Miss Universe. I had a feeling then, I was like, uh-oh. There's something to come. So then something came, right? So Alicia Machado comes out. That was coordinated by the Clintons, absolutely. Donald Trump didn't resist in terms of his instincts, and he tweets about it for a week. That becomes a story for a week, okay. Second debate, after the other allegations, or the audio, it's not even allegations, the audio tape comes out, and he's asked by Anderson Cooper in the debate, did that ever happen? And he says, it did not happen. When you say that at the presidential level, then you can bet that either reporters or people are going to dig into it and see. And that indeed has been what's happened. The New York Times reported about 2 women who came forward to say that this groping happened. Some of it was decades ago. Donald Trump says it's slander and libel. He tells the New York Times that they're threatening to file a lawsuit, but they're not filing a lawsuit because, as you know, if they did that, then there would be discovery. And he doesn't know how to quite retract it. The other thing that's happened is they're put themselves in a box because they're questioning the victims, okay, which is exactly what they have complained that the Hillary Clinton people did back in the Bill Clinton days of questioning the victims. You'll see more of them tonight on Fox News. So the thing that's happened is that now you have Trump's defender saying things like, well, in the story of the airplane, Newt Gingrich described it as a woman who had a bad flight 34 years ago. Okay, I think that's not a good thing to say. Then you have people saying that, well, actually on planes in that day and time, the armrest couldn't actually move up and down, so therefore this can't possibly be true. Then you had another Trump surrogate saying, well, actually, stewardesses at that time, flight attendants, were not allowed to move somebody from coach into first class because it never happened for me. These types of things are not really the way to deal with a story like this. He might be able to get away with it in terms of his supporters are not going to go away. They are locked in with him. They think it's all the media's fault. But the one that really gets to me is People Magazine. He's talking a lot about New York Times. People Magazine, the reporter is Natasha Stoynoff. She writes about this thing that she says happened to her. He finally responds about it today, and his response is about her looks. He says, look at her words. Just look at her and decide for yourselves.
And that was,
I think, not a shining moment.
That was an interview that she conducted.
She did several interviews with them in terms of a feature of both their marriage, and then a year later, a follow-up when Melania was pregnant. That's right.
Okay, so Bowling, true or false, the allegations? What is the impact politically?
So I'm going to start with it's not okay. None of it is okay. It's not okay what they're claiming Bill Clinton did with Juanita Broderick or Jennifer Flowers or Catherine Willey. None of that is okay, nor is it okay what they're accusing Donald Trump of doing. None of it, period. My issue is, why are we spending so much time on it? I know you want to undermine, you want to call out the character, and both sides are going to do it and have done it. But don't we care? Do we not care about the Supreme Court? Do we not care about taxes going forward? Do we not care about wages? Do we not care about whether or not ISIS is planning to use a exploding drone in America, which we heard about today? I mean, these are the issues we should be caring about. But we've spent literally more time on both sides, 30-year-old allegations of sexual impropriety, way more time on that than the issues that really matter. It's just time to move on, in my opinion.
The last topic that Mr. Wallace will be discussing that we have on here is fitness to be president. So there are those that will argue that this is relevant, that it is important, it should matter whether or not someone has a suitability or has committed sexual assault or acts of aggression against women. So that's the counter-argument one.
Yeah, I think that is the counter-argument. I think people want to know character. And I think this is of a part with the idea that, you know, we don't know that much about his taxes still, and we don't know, and so there are questions about, he says he's a great businessman, that's the basis of his run for president. So what do we know about his character? Who is this person? And people are trying to discover it. Now, Donald Trump is quite good at publicity, but in this case, I'd have to say that I thought Dana's on target. I think a lot of the rebuttals coming from Trump and his surrogates. I heard Ben Carson say, it's really on people who haven't heard this kind of coarse language before. That's the problem. I thought, well, of course that's not the problem. I mean, or he said you're voting for the children and the future. You shouldn't be talking about it. I think, you know what?
And that's your buddy.
Yeah, but people are talking about it, and they're using it as a way to see who the candidate is. It has tremendous political power at this moment, Kimberly, because not only do we have the first woman candidate opposite him, but we have a moment when people are, I think, just very concerned about sexual misconduct in the society. And you have women who are standing up for themselves. And I think that's why you see the Clinton campaign not only gaining, but gaining radically, and gaining with people, you know, white, working-class women who previously were strongly pro-Trump, and that's why the polls are falling for Trump.
Can I just add that her character is under immense scrutiny as well right now for not sexual misconduct, but for lying, consistently lying.
Right, for integrity, for the emails, for Benghazi, lying to families. Yeah, there's some really serious things that are being investigated and have been by Congress as well. Greg.
Yeah, but here's why his denials don't work. There's a simple problem. He already confessed. I mean, this is the first political scandal in history where he admitted to it on a hot mic, and also with Howard Stern talking about walking in on beauty pageant teenage girls while they're changing. He has said this. Then he will say, okay, wait, this is locker room talk. All that does is that indulges the worst assumptions of modern feminism, that all men think like this, all men sit in locker rooms and say this crap. It's not true. He said this, and then they found examples. So the word versus deed argument that I mentioned 2 days ago, or maybe it was yesterday, that he should use, he can't use anymore because it's now action versus action. And then ironically, he's turning all of his surrogates into Hillary Clintons because they're forced to stand by him. You're not supposed to stand by somebody who does something wrong. Loyalty becoming fealty is immoral. And I'll leave it there.
All right. Well, obviously, crimes of sexual harassment, sexual assault, or aggressive acts against and violence against women should not be condoned. Maybe we can learn from all of this that as soon as something happens to you, you come out, be empowered, and say something.
Well, sometimes you don't always come out immediately.
Well, come out
often,
regardless. Whenever you do, or you.
Well, part of the other problem is that these women did tell family members, and the family members are corroborating the story. So if you believe that it's all made up, then it had to be. That is quite an amazing type of coordination. If you're going back 10 years on people's memories and you're coordinating it all within 24 hours, I doubt that happened.
Yeah. Well, so that's part of the evidence that comes forward to back it up that is substantive. All right, Hillary Clinton's got it. We're going. Are her own new controversies to combat, but she's got the mainstream media helping her out. Hear all about it next.
As the election nears, WikiLeaks has been pumping out an onslaught of damaging and embarrassing emails for the Clinton campaign. They should concern anyone who read them, but Clinton's pals in the mainstream media will try and convince you look the other way.
What do we see as the really, smoking guns, if you will, in these emails?
We haven't really seen one. This was an illegal breach on John Podesta's emails, and so I think we have to be cautious when we dig through these, and certainly we haven't seen anything that as the Trump campaign would like to be sort of that smoking gun.
Yes, there are plenty of smoking guns. We learned the secretary admits she has both public and private positions on many issues, has said Syrian refugees cannot be properly vetted after all, and we'll get to another big one that's infuriating a lot of people of faith like me in the next segment. So, why is the media downplaying these WikiLeaks revelations? Mr. Trump has an idea.
The most powerful weapon deployed by the Clintons is the corporate media, the press. The corporate media in our country is no longer involved in journalism. They're a political special interest, no different than any lobbyist or other financial entity, and their agenda is to elect crooked Hillary Clinton at any cost, at any price, no matter how many lives they destroy.
Okay, so Dana, mainstream media has obviously typically leaned hard left, but is Trump wrong in this?
Well, I think without corporate media, Donald Trump wouldn't necessarily be where he is today because he got a ton of free corporate media during that primary run. And look, when you are the Republican candidate, look at the last several decades. If you're running as a Republican, the media's at the end, they're going to try to get you. And that's what's happening. I think it's interesting, Andrea Mitchell's tone on it, too, which is sort of like in sadness, there's, like in empathy with John Podesta. Now, that could be because of this issue of it being hacked and it's private property. I do agree with that. The problem for the Hillary Clinton team is that, but it's out there. So like with Trump and the women, it's like, it's out there, so you're going to have to deal with it. Complaining about the media at this point is not going to get you too far, except for maybe with your base.
And Greg, I think you take a similar stance, but again, these emails are supposed to be property of the government, property of the people.
Yeah, but right? I have to remind everybody who's just, Assange, how quickly we forget what a bad person and a coward this guy is. He dumped the largest pile of classified documents that potentially endangered our allies and our U.S. informants. But because this fits an agenda, look, I don't like Hillary Clinton. But the fact is, we are Americans before we were Democrats and Republicans, and now we're okay with an outside entity, Russia, and this jackass to manipulate our elections. It's absolutely mad, and I'm amazed that people here do not care where this is coming from. It bothers me. This is theft.
I think we all care about it. I think it's horrible. Absolutely. And Obama threatened to take action against Russia. I doubt that he will, because at this point, unfortunately, we've reached the point where Russia and China can turn out the lights here in New York City. And then maybe Assange, will coordinate with Russia and dump all the deleted Hillary emails next.
Yeah, no, you're right. In fact, Assange talked about how he would help the helpless. He's saddled up with a tyrant. The worst.
Well, the part that concerns me at the moment is apparently the Russians have tried to hack into the election system in states like Florida. To me, this is an outrage. I just can't believe this. Why would anybody think that? I mean, I don't care who's doing it. You don't do that. And because I think they want to undermine confidence. And then Donald Trump, of course, has been talking about this is a rigged system. And I think even Republicans, you even hear Republicans saying, don't say that, Mr. Trump. Don't undermine the value of our American system. I think there are Republican election officials who have spoken about we have more voter ID. We're on the watch for voter fraud. But they're not saying that the election system is somehow fraudulent and that America is built on a lie in terms of our democratic principles. So I think Republicans and Democrats are singing from the same song. But to come back to Eric's point, I think when people ask about the revelations in here, Eric, they say, well, okay, so where is the smoking gun? And I saw one report today that said, well, the #1 smoking gun is Hillary Clinton's cozy relationship with the press, or that at State,
that's one of them,
or that at State, friends of Bill got special preference. And I thought to myself, but yeah, we knew that stuff. I'm almost like accepting it.
I know, because you become desensitized to criminal conduct and low ethics. That's the problem. And it's kind of had that effect in the country. People are like, oh, something else. Oh, the Clintons don't play fair. Oh, the Clintons do pay for play. It's like one thing after the next. Unfortunately, it becomes saturated to the point where you don't feel it anymore.
So if there were some emails that WikiLeaks or some other, whoever hacked that were Trump's and showed some sort of collusion with someone at a news organization, sending the questions that were going to be talked about in a debate the next day or a town hall the next day, you wouldn't find that at least interesting and
I think we have discussed. Yeah, that's why we've talked about it right here on this show. But the question is it the equivalent, if you're talking about equivalence, of what's been going on with the leaks that Donald Trump has experienced in terms of that video and his language?
No, I'm simply saying when you find out that Donna Brazile, who now heads up the DNC,
I just
sent along a question word for word.
Well, she denies it. To be fair to Ms. Brazile, she denies that. Okay. But let's assume that it really did happen. people are like, well, yeah, you know, reporters, people get involved, and she was the head of the Gore campaign, and she was vice chair of the DNC. They wonder why people like that are, in fact, in the media, much as I think Dana brought up yesterday, Corey Lewandowski from the Trump campaign, he's getting paid from the Trump campaign while he's also getting paid from CNN. People think this is not good, but
final thought?
I think that both of these campaigns, just to go back to the debate and how important it is next Wednesday, if you're fighting about the media and the media's unfairness and the treatment of the media by next Wednesday, I don't think that that will be the best closing argument. So maybe get that out of your system over the weekend. There's probably more to come in terms of news developments. And your closing argument should be, if you're Trump, why you would be better for this country and that change is needed. And if you're Hillary, you want to say that you'll be a steady person that's more fit for office. Whatever the closing argument it is, it should not be blaming the media or blaming WikiLeaks.
Very good. We'll leave it right there. Ahead, many people of faith are furious with the Clinton camp after reading what some of Hillary's top aides wrote about Catholics and evangelicals in private emails that have now been exposed. Those deplorable messages when we return.
Catholics represent nearly a quarter of America's electorate. Will the latest WikiLeaks email dump cost Hillary Clinton some of their votes? The latest batch of hacked messages shows some of her top aides speaking negatively about the religion. House Speaker Paul Ryan, a devout Catholic, calls it staggering, a, quote, insult to millions of people across the nation. And he's not the only prominent Catholic upset by email exchanges. Here's the president of the Catholic League.
These are anti-Catholic remarks. Read exactly what Podesta has said. This man is beyond bigotry. When somebody sticks their nose into somebody else's religion for the purpose of their words, revolution, this is at a new stage.
And here's more from Bill Bennett and Tucker Carlson.
This crowd has been anti-Catholic for a long time. It's the Catholic teaching on marriage, on same-sex, on contraception, and most of all on abortion. They just can't stand that. Catholics, I hope, will take note of this. Their faith is being attacked, their faith is being disparaged, and they should react to it.
Well, this is infuriating on a whole bunch of different levels. If, by the way, the subject were Islam, I mean, the president would have a primetime press conference right now, urging all of us to sort of quell our Islamophobia.
Tucker is right about that. But interesting, Greg, the three people in the email exchange are actually all Catholics.
Yeah, and they happen to have a fairly substantial understanding of it because there were two words in there I didn't even know that they had used, and I didn't get it. But look, you know, I just listened to Mr. Donahue, is that his name, say that somebody's sticking their nose into your religion. If somebody said they found an email that is not for them, and in there they read it and they were offended by what was in that email, that's actually more offensive to me. You stuck your nose into somebody's email. So should we adjust all of our private emails so people's feelings don't get hurt? There's a place for your private thoughts.
Yes, you have to now.
I know that, fortunately.
Right? I mean,
but this is the point.
Yeah.
It's like so now it's like I want to have my private thoughts. I want to be able to talk about, I think the Pope. I don't like the Pope. So now that's going to get leaked.
Because
Look,
there is no more private.
There is no more.
Right.
But so you're happy with that?
Planes.
You're happy with that?
No.
I'm not. I'm not. It's total arrogance
I'm thinking
for somebody to be upset reading somebody else's email.
I'm thinking of going completely emailless. Like, I wonder if I could do that in my life.
But then, you know what? Then it's your thoughts. They're going to figure out that you have bad thoughts.
They're going to get in there?
Yeah, Minority Report.
Kimberly,
Remember that?
there is something to be said about religious freedom and discussion about it, especially after the big fight that we had. People kind of forget about it, but the Little Sisters of the Poor,
yes,
which became part of the Obamacare discussion, ends up in the Supreme Court.
Yes, exactly, and they were very vocal, voicing their opinion about it and wanting to not provide and be associated with contraception. But I agree with Dr. Bennett here. I mean, and you know what? It's out there. We know it, so this is what we know, what they think and how they.
That doesn't excuse you reading it.
You
should, I want to read
I didn't go hack it. Fine. You might find them entertaining. There's some pictures of dresses and some talk about fashion.
Your password was easy to figure out.
Right. It's called Fabulous.
Eric, your thoughts on the second day of this story?
Well, I think it continues to unfold. I mean, yesterday was a Russian acquaintance that sent something, and then there was some reaction. Look, I understand what you're saying. You say stuff in private that would probably outrage, that would outrage a lot of people. I get it. But once you're out there and you see who these people are and what they're really thinking. I mean, there was a lot in these emails. I mean, the way they're talking about some Latinos, the way they're talking about
needy Latinos, Catholics and evangelicals are severely backwards.
You should see my emails about you, Kimberly.
It goes back to the question, character. I mean, if the character is flawed, is it okay if it's flawed as long as it's flawed in private? I don't know. I see what you're saying, though. I hate all of it.
Yeah.
I wish we'd just get back to the issue.
I know.
And you know what's interesting, Juan, is that in this case, unlike the audio tape from NBC and Access Hollywood, these are actually not even Hillary Clinton's own words. These are staffers. Do you think that matters in the minds of Catholics that might be using this as a decision point?
What's her campaign?
I
don't
think
anyone
is. I listened to Bill Bennett, and Bill Bennett was making the point that, that this crowd, as he sees it, is not a religious crowd, that they're somehow globalist, trade people, and then they have these kind of what they consider enlightened opinions about abortion, gay rights. They think they're smarter, etc.
Well,
so I think that's the way Bill Bennett interprets it. The way I interpret it, by the way, I didn't find it, as someone who's very religious, I did not find it offensive. I'm not a Catholic, but I didn't find it offensive. I found it interesting that they said that so many conservatives, especially powerful conservatives, who have chose to convert to Catholicism because they thought if they became evangelicals, it wouldn't sit well with their rich friends or something like that. I thought, well, this is interesting, because I don't think that's true. I really don't. I think that from what I have experienced in Washington, there are lots of people who are very proud and think it's politically advantageous to stand up and say they stand for Christ and all this. So, to me, it's a very interesting, but in terms of offensive, did they say that someone who's a Catholic is a bad person? I don't see that at all.
I have to say, as a Lutheran, I feel like I could be an honorary Catholic.
Really?
You're almost there.
As a Catholic, I'm pretty offended.
That I'm a Lutheran?
No. No.
All right.
I agree. And also by things like clinging to guns and religion.
That's not in here. That was a previous offense.
That was before.
Yeah.
All right, much
more
to
to come.
What
about me? I don't believe in anything.
You're an atheist.
You can just skip this one.
Agnostic?
We're going to have more on the wild presidential race that we believe it will, come to an end in 26 days. I missed that read. The nominees are trading new fire on the trail. Their latest attacks are next.
Take it easy, folks. It's almost over. Less than a month to go. So it's crunch time, and Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, well, they aren't letting up on one another.
Honestly, she should be locked up. The Clintons are criminals. Remember that. They're criminals. This is well documented. And the establishment that protects them has engaged in a massive cover-up of widespread criminal activity at the State Department and the Clinton Foundation in order to keep the Clintons in power. Whether we have only the illusion of democracy.
The stakes are so high because we've already learned who Donald Trump is. What we have to prove in this election is who we are. There's a lot of negativity right now generated by the other side, and we cannot let this pessimism, this dark and divisive and dangerous vision of America take hold in anybody's heart.
Greg, Mrs. Clinton is out west and apparently drawing bigger crowds than ever. And I hear she's got Elton John at a fundraiser outside of Hollywood, and then up to Seattle, and Macklemore, your favorite, doing a fundraiser there.
That's why you came to me. This is the longest episode of Divorce Court ever. It really is. And when we're all old, we're all going to be on rocking chairs. We go, remember the election of 2016? Oh, those were the days. And we'll just sit there, and with all these little kids and grandkids will be sitting around there, and there'll be a little Jasper, and they'll tell us more about 2016.
The villages?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, Dana. Donald Trump's campaign has a new ad, and it talks about corrupt Hillary, and that she does pay to play. Is this going to work?
Well, with his base, yes, I think it works. I mean, especially because every rally that he goes to, I mean, lock her up is the chant. That's what they want. I think he's crossed a line, saying, civilians don't get to decide that somebody is a criminal. Our court system does. School children learn that. So, yeah, I think he's crossed the line. I think that in listening to both those sound bites, it's just a stark difference of a viewpoint of an election, and I can see both points of view, and I think in their closing arguments, one will be a dark view and one will be positive, and we'll see who wins.
Eric?
Well, yeah.
Okay, well, I was just opening it to you, but I will say this. that a federal judge has now opened voter registration, extended it in Florida, and we've seen voting already start in many states. So this election is on.
Yeah, it's on. And, you know, pre-voting, it's going to be huge. And think what these people are voting on right now. They're looking at two candidates who are taking shots, like literally the worst, lowest shots you can possibly take at each other. I mean, it's sad. It really, honestly, I didn't mean to not answer you right away, but it's just tiring. I'm just literally
You're like running out of
Everybody's
words.
exhausted.
We're running out of words.
Yeah. How is my friend Kimberly Guilford feeling?
Energized. I had some super beats today.
You love this campaign.
No, but I did have beats today.
Okay.
So this is what I think. I think that people are going to get newly energized by this when they see the debate. I'm not kidding you. I think that's really going to bring a whole other area of discussion. You're going to see also then in the polling whether or not that's going to be enough to shift some of the numbers, because obviously now Trump is trying to play catch up. Right. Hillary's got to try and be likable, and they both have to take a break from any more scandals.
Okay, yeah. One more thing up next.
Zero. One more thing, Juan.
Listen to this.
Once upon a time, just so far, through the bumps of down in your pie.
That was the opening of Like a Rolling Stone by Bob Dylan, and today it was announced Bob Dylan is a Nobel Prize winner for literature. So this morning when I heard this, I was like, literature? What about his music? But in fact, then I realized, you know what, his lyrics are literature. I was thinking about it. Dylan's music, along with Woody Guthrie's This Land Is Your Land, Curtis Mayfield's People Get Ready, some of America's most treasured protest literature. Congratulations, Bob Dylan, for writing American music.
He also wrote My Sharona. You didn't know that, did you? No, My Sharona.
Is that true?
Yes.
Feel bad for the people who didn't win this year. Very quickly, they want me to go fast. Hillary scandals, we talk about a bunch of them. The cozy relationship, mainstream media. Bleach Pit guys, 33,000 emails. Spokesman mocking Catholics. Here it is. Just take a look. Just watch. Take a picture of that. I'll post it on my Facebook.
It's a T-shirt waiting to happen.
Cattle Futures in Whitewater.
Yeah. Borders, cattle futures. Now that one
Put it on
slipped my
Facebook.
mind.
Cattle Future.
Cattle
99.
futures. Go ahead.
That's where cows travel to the
me?
future.
Yeah. All right, I want to wish. Cállate, please.
All right.
All right, I want to wish the Navy a happy